Hello and welcome to our lesson ArcSight Enterprise Security Management. We are still in the chapter 2 of the ESM 101 document, and now we'll move to a new section which is the smart connectors. Here is this section in the document. So smart connectors are the interface to the objects on your network that generate correlation relevant event data. Actually, this means these are the collection points for collecting the logs from your log sources. So you may have network nodes, you may have security nodes, you may have servers, systems, whatever. The smart connectors, you have different types of smart connectors that can deal with all these types of log sources, and they can normalize the data in two ways. Actually, it normalizes the data such as severity, priority, and time zone. So if you have different time zone formats from different sources, the smart connectors put them all in the same format in ArcSight. Priority, every log source is representing the severity in different way. Some log sources like IPS saying my high severity is called critical, my medium severity is called major, my low severity is called low. So critical, major, low, while firewalls may say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Another log source can say it severe, normal. So all these different types of formats of the severity can be normalized into one common format in ArcSight. As we will see, it will be very high, medium, low, very low. And the same normalization is done for different aspects like the severity, priority, time, and time zone. This is the first way of normalization that is done by the smart connector. So to put everything in a common format. The second thing is the data structure itself, normalizing the data structure into a common schema, because you can have the firewall, one type of firewall saying source address equal 1111 and the destination address equal 2.2.2.2. You have another firewall saying the destination address before the source address, or it named it DST, not destination address or source address. So the smart connectors are smart enough for every type of log source. It's not smart enough to recognize that this is a source address for the Palo Alto, for example, and it's found here in the log. This is a source address for the Cisco SA. It's found here in the log, and extract all this piece of information and put them in the common schema for ArcSight. So the normalization is done in two ways as we explained. Then the smart connectors can filter and aggregate events to reduce the volume of events sent to the manager. So the filtration means that you can remove noisy events that you don't need to send to the manager. So this will save your bandwidths. And the aggregation means that if you have 10 login failures, for example, instead and they are all coming from the same source to the same destination, and it's reported by the same device or log source, instead of sending these 10 logs to the ESM and the waste bandwidths and waste resources like the events per second or EPS on the ESM, you just send one log and a count of 10. So after the normalization takes over, the smart connector make the filtration and the aggregation for events. Smart connectors enable you to execute commands on the local host. They are hosted on some host, so you can execute a command like initiating a scanner, or it can add information to the data, like if it make DNS resolution for an IP to put the host name, so it can enrich the logs coming to the ArcSight. Okay. also it's doing some important thing called categorization. So put the category for every event in a human readable format. So this is an authentication event. This is an access event. This is a drop access denied event. Uh, so you don't need to be an expert if the categorization is done correctly for every log source. You don't need to be an expert to understand or to search through your logs. So whatever the technology that is doing the authentication, you will just search your logs for the authentication verify category. So this should reveal all the authentication logs throughout the different technologies. You can search through operating system. So if you have Windows, you get the logs for this. If you have Linux, you will get the logs for this. So the categorization is a powerful tool in the ArcSight that is done by the smart connectors. So if this is done correctly, you will have your life easier to make rules, reports, and build your content in the ArcSight. After this is done, the normalization, the filtration, aggregation, categorization, after all these powerful features is done, the smart connectors send or pass the events to the manager for further processing for correlation, or to the logger for long-term storage. Okay. So the smart connectors is doing very good work, and it's considered the main infrastructure of the solution. Okay, so that's it for this video. In the next lesson, we'll talk about the ArcSight Management Center and the other sections in this chapter.